Hi, I'm Adrienne McLean from the Speakers Practice. It's great to have you join us for our podcast, Think Bigger, Grow and Succeed. We're interviewing professionals on the topic of seeing the bigger picture and discuss how individuals at work or in business can do this so they grow and ultimately succeed at their goals. This interview is designed to be motivational and uplifting. We're discussing skills and approaches to get you to the next level. I'm thrilled to have Zern Liew from EicoLab join us today. Zern works in the intersection of design thinking and counselling. Zern offers problem-solving facilitation sessions with individual working professionals to work through complex problems that have multiple entangled factors: personal, interpersonal, and systemic. Oh, wow, that's a interesting area to be working in, Zern. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure, Adrienne.
So can you tell us first how you got into this area of design thinking and counselling?
Well, where do I start? I started off being a designer. That was what my first training was in, and doing a lot of digital products like software for companies and websites and web systems. And as I got into that some more and the web evolved, I realized I was getting more engaged with my clients' business processes.
Right.
And from then, as we delve into business process work, we realize that people are inevitably involved in problems,
Yes.
which then took me to the world of counseling and psychotherapy to work on people, to help people be more and so forth. So my work has always been about problem solving, just the focus has shifted.
Yeah. And of course, when we're in business, we are people at the end of the day.
Yep. And inevitably, business is personal. That's something I've always believed strongly in. The myth that business is not personal is just that. It's a myth. Because as soon as we get retrenched, as soon as we have a conflict with our bosses, it suddenly becomes very, very personal. Or, we lose a sale. The client says, no, it's personal.
Yes.
And we need to learn to deal with that in a healthy way.
Yeah. Fantastic. Oh, well, we're keen to hear your insights into our questions. So the first question is, what are the pros and cons of staying in your comfort zone?
Well, I think we humans as a species have a really, really a real addiction to being comfortable. We like what we know. We like doing the same things. Even the adventurous people still like doing the same adventurous things, perhaps. So the biggest pro with the comfort zone is that we are comfortable. We've all had the colleague who goes, I've been doing this for the last 20 years. Why change now? It's very, very addictive. So the cons are, well, we come to the idea of the growth and fixed mindsets. The growth mindset says, I am an ever-changing person. The world's changing. I can learn. I can develop. I can try new things. And most of the new things I try will not kill me. The fixed mindset says, there's only one way of doing it. It's the way that I have been doing it, or the way that I have been told how to do it. And any other way is wrong. So the cons on a business thing would be we risk becoming irrelevant. If we were Kodak, for example, the biggest, arguably, camera manufacturer in the world, they didn't believe in digital cameras. And suddenly, overnight, they lost absolute relevance. Personally, if we choose to stick with our old ways and old beliefs, like, for example, only men and women can get married. As society progresses and evolves, we risk becoming less relevant.
Yeah. So do we have to sort of learn to have a growth mindset, or how, we have our thinking, but can we change our mindset from being more fixed to being more open and seeing more?
I think so. I mean, it is a growth. To have a growth mindset is to believe that we can change our mindset. It's kind of quite meta in that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't mean that we have to become a completely different person overnight. But I think, you know, if we believe in lifelong learning, if we are curious about the world, curious about our own abilities and our potential, then yeah, we can learn to open up our mindset more. Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things that has really interested me, and it is in the sort of counselling or psychology area, is thinking bigger about who you are and what you offer the world. Where we have our skill sets and we have our sort of understanding of what we are interested in, but and this is really relevant for business owners who create their own business, to think about their business far bigger than doing the gadgets or whatever, you know, doing digital marketing. Can it be broader than that? How can we do that? How can we think bigger about our aspirations and our goals?
Yeah, well, it's an excellent question. I mean, business is a very conservative practice, generally speaking. I think there are rules, there are expectations and standards set and unset that we all subscribe to. And one of the risk I see in this area of practice is that we can, especially when we think about employment and recruitment, we can become quite boxed into very clear sets of roles and behaviors and specializations. You know, businesses have to say, I sell donuts that are not filled, which is very clearly communicating your value proposition. But the risk of that is, oh, I only ever sell donuts that are unfilled.
Yeah.
All right. So I think with any change process, it all begins with awareness. This sense of going, oh, I'm quite feeling maybe I need to do something different here. Something's not quite right, even though my business may be going well. And that awareness can then lead us to think, maybe I need to think bigger. Maybe I need to think differently. So bigger doesn't necessarily mean more money and more market share. Thinking bigger for some people may be selling off their business and downsizing. Making that decision, taking the little step, starts from awareness. And we all have the potential to grow and be so much more than where we are today.
So what would stop us from doing that?
Well, comfort zone. Right? It's comfort zone and the pressures of the categoricalization of what we do that business places on us, and social stereotypes and roles. You know, women don't go into technology stuff because women don't get gadgets. I still hear that.
Right. Oh, really?
And it's very, very subtle. Like, I must be stupid. I can't get the computer to work. I've only ever heard that from female clients, and it's appalling. It's, you know, have I gone off the track now?
No.
It's those things that stop us. And the risk factor, business is very risk averse, because if we make mistakes, we could get dragged into the court. We could lose money, lose clients, lose our reputation. Those things can stop us. And the mitigation of that comes back to, well, how big is the risk that you're willing to take? How big is the change that you want to make versus what's the reward for you?
But then that's part of it, isn't it? If we looked at the reward that could come from the work, that's sort of a guiding light, isn't it, so to speak?
Yeah. And also, what was that thought that just popped into my head? We also need to be realistic about what that is. There's that wonderful aspirational imagination of blue sky. What could I be? I could be a multi-billionaire tomorrow. That might give a great motivating force to my work.
Yeah.
But then I've got to be realistic about, well, maybe I won't get that. But that's okay. It's the tolerance of failure is the other one.
Right. Yeah.
How okay are we receiving criticism of being seen to fail? I may start a new business product line that just flops. Am I okay with that? And this is, in a perverse way, what I find fascinating about certain personality types, like Donald Trump, for example, who can essentially speak his reality into being.
Yes.
He can have the most abject failure in the public eye and yet somehow speak through that and appear to be okay. Not that I'm saying people should aspire to be like him. But that tolerance for failure, it's resilience, right? And it applies equally to our personal lives as well as our business careers.
Yeah. Well, that you talking about all the parts that we have to be as business people to grow, I suppose, being resilient, having a growth mindset.
Yep.
It's all there, working, influencing us, I suppose.
Yes, and they're all factors we could more actively cultivate. Like curiosity is one. It's so fundamental to our well-being, both personally and in business. To be curious about the world. What's going on there? Why are they looking at that? Why has that become a thing? And creative confidence, the ability to go, oh, what if I did something completely left of field? Those things take practice. Yeah.
That's a very interesting concept, creative confidence. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, creative confidence, I guess, it's the ability to feel confident about your responses to unexpected situations and problems.
Right.
And it varies from individual to individual because of their background and their previous experiences and so forth. It doesn't necessarily mean you are artistic. So creative confidence doesn't have anything to do with, well, it can, but doesn't have to do with your ability to be artistic.
Yeah.
So a businessman, a scientist, an engineer can be equally as creative and have the confidence to do that. So a creatively confident person may, when faced with an unexpected situation, say, I don't know, give me an unexpected situation.
Well, they're starting a new product line.
Yes, because they've been forced into it by a competitor, for example. All right. So a creatively confident person may be more able to ask questions like, well, what if we don't respond? Or what if we respond in the opposite way? Say if the competitor's product is bigger and faster, what if ours is slower deliberately and smaller?
Right.
All right. So the confidence to ask that question and to explore it without rushing into immediate judgment. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that is the correct, appropriate strategy for your product line, but asking those questions. Right. Creative confidence is also the ability to find inspiration from other sources. What if the new computer I'm building is equivalent to a donut? What sort of donut would that be? Right. What does the sugar on a donut means for a computer that I'm designing? Right. So that alternate sources of inspiration, and to come up with lots and lots of solutions. Without judgment. That's a big one. I think business teaches us to be rational and judgmental and evaluative. And that can be problematic when it comes to generating ideas.
Because business is creative in one aspect, because
Absolutely.
we start a business, we create our own brand,
Yep.
uh, we work out a product that our clients will want.
Mm-hmm.
So it is creative.
Yeah, we are creating solutions to problems, hopefully, that people will then pay for.
Yes.
Um, yeah, and those things don't come out of non-creative spaces. Non-creative spaces would be if you're running a process, you're grinding the wheel and the sausage comes out.
Yeah.
There's less creativity in that context. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so what happens to people when they go out of their comfort zone and test new approaches?
Well, key feelings, I'm guessing, would be fear, trepidation, anticipation, excitement. It's a mixture of those. Because, as we said before, when we get uncomfortable and try something new in a business sense, there is potentially a threat to our business. There's also potentially a threat to our egos. My reputation could be tarnished. My business could lose money. And then as an individual, what we need to do is constantly evaluate, well, how much am I pushing? When we're pushing an envelope, we can push too hard and end up on the bleeding edge, which most of us don't want to be. Or we can push not enough and does not progress, and we don't progress. Yeah.
And fear is quite a deciding factor in that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Does that hold us back, or does it cause it, like it can cause us to not achieve our goals?
It can certainly be a huge barrier. I think there's an evolutionary reason for fear. We evolved to be fearful of the dark and creatures that might eat us from the dark and so forth, and we carry that with us innately. So fear can definitely hold us back. And it can be the simplest thing, as you would know from your speaking work. The fear of being heard in a public forum can hold us back. The fear of expressing disagreement can hold us back. The fear that our passion and our love for what we do is not enough or is somehow invalid because it doesn't make lots of money, for example. Right? Can hold us back. But then on the flip side, looking that fear in the eye, which is, of course, easier to say than to do, can be a huge motivating factor. As, again, you would know, for somebody who is afraid of public speaking, to get to the point where they can get up on the stage and not freak out at all or quite enjoy it, hugely validating for that person, and indeed a manifestation of the growth mindset at work, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And it takes work, but you can work through it.
Yes. And when you do, oh boy. Yeah. Worth and you don't really remember the horrible bits along the way. I can do this now. Which raises an interesting point. How often do we in business celebrate our successes?
Well, probably not as much as we should.
Yeah. We can probably remember the 3 times a client rejected us or criticized us. But can we remember 3 times when the client has gone, oh my God, I should pay you more? Or you've saved my business, or you've saved my marriage.
And that's the thing with this whole. It's all about the people involved, and it takes all parts of your life involves, not just the transactions at the end of the day.
Exactly. Yeah. The accounting aspect of a business is only one tiny part of, it's such a huge thing to do. It's a transformative activity to engage in, to start and run a business.
Yes. Okay, so now we get to some of the more transactional parts, but what's the best way to achieve your goals?
Well, it depends, doesn't it? Who are you? What are your thinking styles and working styles and personality characteristics? All of those play a part, because what works for me may not work for you. Like, I use lists a lot in different ways. I use mind maps to organize what I need to do. I use diagrams. Some people may not respond well to that. They may go, I want to listen to 5 minutes of appropriately motivational statements every morning when I get out of bed. That might work for them better. So I guess the first step is awareness of what works for you. And to get to the point where you've started and are running a business, you must know a little bit more about who you are, surely, about what has worked for you in the past. And it may need somebody else to help you find it, but right? What are your strengths, what works for you and what doesn't? And to leverage those.
And it's not always that easy to just find out those things. Some people are really clear about it, but some people, they might just sort of push themselves through it, I suppose.
And there's nothing wrong with pushing yourself through if it achieves the results and doesn't hurt you too much. I guess the thing to watch out for is not to brute force a technique when it's actually damaging you and your relationship with your family and so forth.
So the next question carries on to that. So how important are personal and professional aspirations to business?
Well, I reckon in my book, personal aspirations has to come first, because if it's your business, you are the driving force, right? So be clear about why you're doing this. And from that personal aspiration comes then the professional aspirations. And the professional aspirations in your business, or your business's aspirations, if we think of your business as a person, their aspirations would be a subset of yours. So, my aspirations may require 3 different businesses to fully actualize. Right? And that keeps things clearer. So, for example, if this business I've got only achieves a tiny part of my aspirations, it's okay if it's working. We don't have to load it with the rest.
Interesting. Okay. Well, would you like to give us a bit of an idea about how design thinking and counselling can help business owners?
Well, okay. We talk about complex problems, or the industry terminology is wicked problems. These are problems that don't. So the tame problems we are all familiar with, like my end of month statement's not balancing out. That's a tame problem because there are clear steps we can take to get the correct solution. We ring our accountant and go fix it. The wicked complex problems are those that have no clear solution paths. Like, I feel really demotivated. I hate waking up on Monday mornings to go to work, but I feel stuck in my business, but the business is going well, so I don't know what I'm doing next, right? What is the obvious solution path in this? There isn't one.
Right, no.
Right? So design thinking, I find the design thinking process and counseling skills can merge together quite effectively for those solutions. Right? The counseling skills let me connect at a deeper level than a design consultant would be able to do. So I can hear emotionality, I can hear personal stuff that they may have not expressed to somebody else before that affects their behavior and thinking. And then the design thinking brings the sort of respectful playfulness to it. What if you just, one of the questions I might ask a client is, what if you just didn't go to work tomorrow?
Mm.
Right? It's like, oh, sacrilege. What if you gave your business to your mother-in-law?
Mm.
Um, so it brings that creativity to it to find new solutions. And both of these disciplines are very much person-centered. What is it like for you? What do you want?
Mm.
As I may have mentioned to you earlier before, growth for one person may be to sell their business and downsize.
Yeah.
That may be what they really want, and that's really good for them.
Yeah.
That's certainly not the business wisdom of the day, right? You keep growing and you get bigger and bigger and you keep growing some more. So both design thinking and counseling really much focuses back on the individual and linking that personal stuff into it all, because it inevitably is already linked.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's there, but it's not spoken of.
Exactly. And what we don't acknowledge, we can't deal with.
Right.
Right.
Well, and well, it is such a fascinating area. Thank you so much for joining us. Would you like to just speak a bit about EicoLab?
It's my business that I've had quite a while. It started off being a design consultancy using design thinking as a problem solving method. And currently what I'm doing through it is essentially design thinking plus counseling sessions. I meet with my clients one-on-one through Zoom, and we talk through complex, wicked problems that they're facing, which can be personal and business and interrelational stuff that helps them get on top of things maybe and see things in a better light. It's really interesting work because every single problem is different and every individual is different.
Yes.
Yeah. And it feeds beautifully into my PhD work, which is what I'm in the midst of at the moment.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time, Zern. I really appreciate it, and you've given us so many insights to think about, so it's much appreciated.
Thank you. You're most welcome. Thanks for the opportunity, Adrienne. It was a pleasure.
Okay.